When the name King Harris flashes across headlines, the world usually braces itself for something controversial. Known as the outspoken son of rap mogul T.I. and songstress Tiny, King has built a reputation for rebellion, clashing with both authority and public perception. But no one could have predicted the latest turn in his story. Reports claim that King Harris allegedly attempted to escape from prison in a reckless and chaotic move that has left fans, critics, and his family reeling. If true, this moment marks not just another scandal, but a turning point in a young man's life, a moment where desperation collided with reality, inside the unforgiving walls of a prison facility. Today, we're diving into the full story: how King ended up behind bars, what drove him to allegedly attempt this escape, the fallout that could change everything, and what it says about fame, pressure, and accountability in the spotlight. To understand why this escape attempt is so shocking and yet somehow not surprising, you have to look at King's upbringing. King Harris wasn't just born into a famous family, he was born into hip-hop royalty. His father, Clifford T.I. Harris, is a Grammy-winning rapper who built his career not only on music, but on his image as a streetwise hustler who turned his life around. His mother, Tamika Tiny Harris, rose to fame as part of the successful R&B group Escape. Together, T.I. and Tiny built an empire, and their children were raised in a world most people could only dream of. Luxury cars, private schools, designer clothes, reality TV appearances, and access to fame before they could even walk. But for King, that privilege came with pressure. From early on, he struggled to define himself outside of his parents' massive shadows. While his siblings leaned into creative paths or quiet lives, King chose rebellion. He wasn't just a reality TV personality on T.I. and Tiny, the family hustle. He was the one constantly challenging authority, acting out, and chasing the idea of toughness. For fans, this behavior seemed like typical teenage rebellion. But as he got older, the antics became more dangerous. Viral videos showed him fighting in public, arguing with strangers, and even clashing with his own family in explosive confrontations. By the time King was in his late teens, it was clear he wasn't content living the life of a celebrity kid. He wanted to prove himself in the streets, and that desire has now landed him in the darkest chapter of his young life. King Harris's legal troubles didn't just appear out of nowhere. Over the years, his reckless behavior escalated. Fans witnessed live-streamed rants where he boasted about being built different and not being afraid of prison. He frequently rejected the privileged image outsiders had of him, insisting that he was real and that people didn't understand what he had been through. While some dismissed these outbursts as immaturity, others saw them as red flags, signs of a young man spiraling. Eventually, King's behavior caught up with him. Run-ins with the law reportedly led to serious consequences, culminating in a sentence that placed him behind bars. For someone who had spent his life surrounded by luxury, freedom, and constant validation, the reality of prison was a brutal wake-up call. No more fast cars, designer sneakers, or adoring crowds. Just strict routines, cold walls, and a system designed to strip you of control. For King, who had spent years projecting toughness, suddenly living that reality may have been more than he could handle. And that's where this story takes a shocking turn. Reports claim that sometime during his early days behind bars, King allegedly attempted to escape the facility. The details are still emerging, but insiders suggest the attempt was anything but carefully planned. Unlike the elaborate escape plots you see in movies, tunnels dug over months, disguises, or smuggled tools, this attempt seemed impulsive, chaotic, and destined to fail. According to witnesses, King grew increasingly agitated in the days leading up to the incident. He was reportedly frustrated with prison life, restless in his cell, and openly telling others that he wasn't built for this. During a routine movement between units, one of the rare moments inmates are shuffled around the facility, King allegedly saw an opportunity and took it. He bolted, sprinting down a hallway as guards shouted commands for him to stop. For a brief, adrenaline-fueled moment, he must have thought freedom was within reach. But reality came crashing down fast. Alarms blared, correctional officers swarmed, and King was quickly subdued before he even reached the outer gates. What might have been a desperate grasp at control instead became a humiliating spectacle, one that not only failed, but made his situation dramatically worse. This is the question on everyone's mind. Why would King Harris, the son of millionaires, risk everything in such a reckless way? To answer that, you have to look at his personality, his past behavior, and the psychological toll of incarceration. King has always been outspoken about rejecting the spoiled rich kid label. He wanted to be respected not because of who his parents are, but because of who he is. In his eyes, toughness, street credibility, and defiance were more valuable than fame or fortune. But prison strips away illusions. It doesn't matter how many followers you have or what last name you carry. Inside those walls, you're just another inmate. And for King, that may have been unbearable. Some speculate that he was targeted by other inmates, singled out because of his famous father. Others believe his rebellious nature made him clash with guards, adding to his frustration. Whatever the case, his alleged attempt to escape wasn't just about leaving prison physically. It may have been about rejecting the reality he never thought he would face. To him, running might have felt like the only way to prove he still had control, even if it was only for a few fleeting seconds.
The consequences of King's alleged escape attempt are enormous. Legally, attempting to escape prison is itself a felony, punishable by additional years behind bars. Even if he didn't make it outside the gates, the attempt alone is enough to guarantee harsher treatment from both the courts and prison officials. His current sentence could be extended significantly, and any hopes of early release are now shattered. Inside prison, the fallout is equally severe. Inmates who attempt escape are typically placed under high security measures. That means solitary confinement, loss of privileges, stricter monitoring, and the label of being a flight risk. For King, whose struggles with confinement were already pushing him over the edge, this new reality may be even harsher than before. Then there's the personal fallout. His parents, T.I. and Tiny, are no strangers to controversy themselves, but watching their son's life spiral in this way has to be devastating. T.I. has always walked a fine line between embracing his street past and promoting redemption and growth. To see his son allegedly repeat mistakes on such a public stage must cut deep. For Tiny, who has often been the emotional anchor of the family, the heartbreak of watching her child crumble under the weight of fame, expectation, and poor decisions must be unimaginable. As with all things involving celebrities, the internet had plenty to say. Social media lit up with memes, jokes, and harsh criticism. Some users mocked King for being soft, saying he couldn't handle the prison life he once claimed he was ready for. Others criticized his parents, arguing that wealth and privilege shielded him from accountability for too long, leaving him unprepared for real consequences. But amid the ridicule, there were also voices of concern. Mental health advocates pointed out that attempting to escape prison can be a sign of panic, trauma, or deeper psychological struggles. King is still young, and many believe his actions, while reckless, reflect desperation more than criminal cunning. His supporters argue that he needs guidance, therapy, and structure, not just punishment. This divide reflects a larger conversation about how society treats celebrity children who spiral. Are they held to unfair standards because of their famous last names, or do they get too many passes until it's too late? In King's case, opinions are split down the middle. Beyond the headlines, King Harris's story is symbolic of something bigger. It highlights the tension between image and reality. For years, King curated an image of toughness, rebellion, and independence. But when the real test came, when he had to actually live the life he projected, he cracked under the pressure. That collapse isn't unique to him. It's part of a broader pattern where fame, privilege, and youth collide in destructive ways. King's alleged escape attempt is more than just a personal failure. It's a cautionary tale. It shows how quickly clout, bravado, and rebellion can spiral when reality sets in, and it forces us to ask difficult questions. How do we guide young people raised in the spotlight? How do we balance accountability with compassion? And what happens when someone raised in privilege tries to prove they're tougher than the world allows? For now, King Harris remains behind bars, facing the consequences of a decision that could haunt him for years. His alleged escape attempt, while dramatic, didn't bring freedom. It brought harsher punishment, public ridicule, and a deeper hole to climb out of. Yet, his story isn't over. Redemption is always possible, but it requires humility, accountability, and real change, qualities King has struggled with in the past. The question is, will this wake him up or push him even further down a destructive path? Time will tell. But one thing is clear. This incident has turned King Harris into more than just a celebrity kid making headlines. He's now a symbol of what happens when rebellion meets reality and when desperation drives someone to make choices that change everything. So, what do you think? Was this escape attempt just a foolish stunt, or was it a desperate cry for help? Do you believe King Harris can turn his life around, or has he gone too far down this road? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into stories just like this.